Mark, it's always so good to have you here. Let's start with some numbers so people understand what's at stake. According to the Brennan Center and the University of Maryland in 2023, more than 9% of American citizens of voting age, that's about 21.3 million people, they don't have proof of citizenship readily available. And at least 3.8 million of them don't even have these documents at all, often because they were lost, destroyed, or stolen. And then, for example, in the state of Washington, they use a 100% mail-in ballot system. So nearly 4 million of the 5 million voters in the state mailed in their ballot. So that was more than 250,000 ballots that were postmarked on time but arrived after Election Day in that 2024 presidential election. I mean, Mark, with all of that in mind, talk about why this latest executive order is such an existential threat to free and fair elections.
Yeah, Katie, first of all, thanks for having me on. You do amazing work, and I just want to say that at the top. The fact is that Donald Trump has issued a lot of bad executive orders. He's done a lot of things that have damaged this country. But the thing that he is focused on now is in some ways the worst, which is he wants to undermine the ability of us to have free and fair elections in 2026. And that's because he knows that his policies are unpopular and that the biggest threat to his authoritarian impulses will be being held accountable at the ballot box in 2026. As you point out, the order that he purports to put forward here would disenfranchise millions and millions and millions of American citizens. And it would not hit all American citizens equally. It would hit disproportionately young voters, voters of color, and married women harder than anyone else. And no surprise, when you look at who did he do worse with in the last election, well, it pretty much matches up.
You know, Mark, another part of this executive order that is giving some cause for pause is the fact that federal agencies, including DOJ, which is not a legitimate one, but putting that aside, they would have access to state voter rolls and the underlying data of that information so they could, quote, check for consistency with federal requirements. I mean, Mark, it's a bunch of DOJ check bros having access to people's voting records and other sensitive information. That doesn't sound safe to me. It doesn't sound constitutional, and it sounds pretty stupid.
Yeah, it is both stupid and unconstitutional. So let's start with the unconstitutional, then move to the stupid. It's unconstitutional so people understand. The Constitution makes clear who is in charge of running elections in this country. And what it says is the time, place, and manner of elections is set by the states, subject only to legislation enacted by Congress. Well, the DOJs and Donald Trump are neither the states nor are they Congress passing legislation. So this is an open and shut case of where Donald Trump is trying to overreach and abrogate power of the state and aggregate power to himself that he does not have. Now to the stupid. I mean, Katie, DOJ can't even tell us who the hell runs DOJ. And every place they go in the federal government, they seem to break things. Why on earth would you now have DOJ people rummaging around state confidential records? Like, under what authority, but also under what kind of common sense would you want the people who have done all of this damage at the federal government now trying to break our elections? The only reason to do that is, in fact, you want to break our election.
Mark, I want to exercise a point of privilege right now to say to you, my hat off to you, not only to your firm, but also at Democracy Docket. I have been following, obviously, these Trump executive orders very carefully, the ones that have been targeting law firms, big law firms, big ones. Not only has your firm said we're going to stand strong and true against Donald Trump and the administration, but you've been name-checked by him several times. I want you to talk to our viewers about why it's so critical, even though there is this potential loss of money and clients and everything for these firms, why it's so important, though, to be a General bloc. To say, I am not going to capitulate. And I don't care what Trump is saying, I'm not going to capitulate.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I appreciate that. I mean, Donald Trump cited me as among the big reasons why he targeted Perkins Coie, the first of the law firms. He issued a memorandum to the Justice Department to go after all lawyers for what he views as frivolous litigation and put me at the top of that executive order. He went to the Department of Justice and called me and Mark Pomerantz, quote, bad people. He called me a radical who wants to make the United States a communist third world country. The fact is that Donald Trump fears lawyers who stand up to him because he knows that when we go to court, we win. He knows that because in 2020, after the election, I led the legal team that defeated him more than 60 times in court. He knows that because right now, in courtrooms around America, he is having his executive order struck down. DOJ is being blocked. And he knows that the legal establishment is a profession that has an obligation to the rule of law, a higher calling than to politics or to their own financial gain. And so I've been very, very outspoken and disappointed in so many of the large law firms who have bent a knee, who have bowed down to him, and have frankly sacrificed their obligation to the rule of law for their own business interests. And I think you're exactly right, Katie. We have to call out the law firms that are not doing that. So I'm going to do that. Perkins Coie, number 1. Jenner and Block, number 2. Wilmer Hale, number 3. Covington and Burling, number 4, have all stood up, and the lawyers who have represented them, Williams and Connolly, Paul Clement, Cooley, all deserve a shout out, as well as the 500 plus law firms that signed on to an amicus brief. Because, Katie, as you know, if Donald Trump is able to conquer the legal establishment and prevent law firms from standing up to him, we will be in an even worse position than we are right now.
It'll be very dark times, but you know what? Those law firms, those that signed on to that amicus brief, the American Bar Association and the other bar associations, Mark, that are notably standing up to Donald Trump, they are picking people over profits and not the opposite. Mark Elias, as always, keep on fighting that good fight. It's good to see you.